and thank you for joining this session about Say Yes to a Food Pantry at your library. In the midst of the first year of the pandemic, which is kind of sad to think we have to number the years of a pandemic, but in the first year of COVID 2020, Ely was also hit by the 2020 derecho. So the Ely Public Library responded to the needs of so many residents who did not have power for nearly a week by setting up a temporary food shelter. People donated food items to anyone who needed them without explanation, without needing to prove a need. And the Ely staff and volunteers soon realized that food insecurity was not only a result of one weather disaster, so they worked to make this food pantry a permanent part of the library's offerings. So here to tell us more about this are the presenters, Sarah Sellon and Alldredge. Sarah Sellon is the director of Ely Public Library. She has been there 15 years, 9 of those as the library director. Sarah is active within the Iowa library community, and she has a real zeal for small rural libraries. She's joined by Alldredge, who is the director of the district volunteer coordinator for the College Community School District. And Allie is also a former Ely Public Library staff member. Her volunteer interests have taken her toward food security and food economy issues, which have led her to work on projects involving seed, lending, libraries, farmers markets, community gardens, food pantries, all of which explains how these two came together in a common interest. So with that, I will let you take it from here. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Excellent. So, do you have room for a pantry? Whether you do or not, we are here to urge you that yes, you should find room for a pantry. So how it started, it actually started prior to the derecho. In April of 2020, it was soon made known or decided that teachers probably weren't going to be going back to the classroom. If you recall, at the time, everyone stayed in and we pretty much didn't leave the house and everything. So those teachers that saw this coming decided it was time to remove the snacks from their classroom and get it into the hands of someone who could actually use it. So the classroom teachers and the Prairie High School Pantry reached out with donations of food that they had and asked if we put them in our lobby so that people could come by and take them. So here's a picture of our very first food pantry, a rickety old cart, and this is what it started as. And then St. John Lutheran Church, which is part of Ely here, had heard about the food pantry. And in the past, they had tried to get one to go and operate, but ran into issues of it being open and available when people needed it. So that kind of dissolved. But they were very interested in the food pantry as a community project here, and they had some pieces that they wanted to donate. So we ended up going from one little 2-shelf rickety cart to a beautiful wood display that you see there filled with the supplies that we had on hand. Then in May, when it was even more apparent that we were still going to be without students in school, General Mills made it possible for their employees to create snack packs that could be given away. And one of the employees at General Mills decided to do that and got their kids involved, and they made fun little questions and quizzes and things on the bags that you can see there. So not only did the kids get some snack and a little something inside, they had a little funny thing to take away from that.
And then once we had that started, the derecho happened. Ely was kind of on the southern end of where the derecho hit. We had a lot of trees down, but many people in our area were without power for several weeks. And that means the grocery stores and the gas stations were out of power. Local residents, a lot of in the area are on wells. And so that means they also lost access to water. So we decided to expand the offerings of the pantry There were several of us that would go down to the Iowa City area and pick up things from there. They had power, they had supplies. We were getting calls from the Cedar Rapids area where people needed diapers, people needed phone and internet access. So we set up a charging station in the lobby. And it just kind of became a hub for people in the area. People were filling up water with our hose bib in the front. And during this time, we extended the hours so that people would have access to this pretty much around the clock, including Sundays, because there was just such a need after this, kind of traumatic event. And during this time, we were going down and picking up cases of water. And then we also had staff that were taking things to the Cedar Rapids area where the need was the most. Yes.
So as you can see, we went from the rickety cart to a shelf to 3 shelves worth of supplies. We put it out there that we had all the supplies people could need. As Ali said, they were going to Iowa City to get it, but we had flashlights and batteries, tarps, water, non-perishable food items, snacks, baby supplies, feminine hygiene, extension cords, etc. We made sure they knew we were open so they could have a place to come and cool down. They could charge their phones. They had a bathroom they could use, Wi-Fi, all of that. And again, we were still continuing to take clothing and food and anything that people, our neighbors, who were hit the hardest, what they would need to get by. So this is August. It's nice out. It's warm. Not like what we're experiencing today, but water, as Ali said, was a big issue. But at least I know they had temporary shelters with tents and things set up, so they could stay kind of near their homes for a while at least. And then when everything was taken care of in the Cedar Rapids area where we were delivering foods that were hit the hardest, they said to stop bringing things, but people still kept bringing items into the library. And as you can see on the slides, we ended up getting another shelf so that we could continue to put the food and stuff out. And the whole idea still at this point was, the pantry is only going to last until we run out of things to give away or our supplies diminished. And food kept disappearing and kept showing up. So it isn't something that went away. We realized then it was here to stay. Knowing it was here to stay, we were fortunate enough to receive a lot of help and donations. Our friends group donated a chest freezer so that we could put food in there. And an individual also purchased this fridge that you see there so we could have perishable items that would be available as well.
All right, so once we decided that the food pantry was here to stay and not just for a reaction to an emergency situation, we went ahead and started to formalize the idea of housing food in our lobby. We partnered with HAYCAP, which is a food pantry, and they do a lot of other things too. 9 counties around the area, so it probably covers a lot of the people here listening. They're great to partnership with. We are able to give away our food with no questions asked. So they just want to know how many people are using the pantry. So we have a very easy system. We put a clipboard out there in the lobby, and we just ask people to write down how many people are in your household each time you use the pantry. And so you can see from the picture here that people just write down the number. I think a lot of times it's the kids who are writing down the number and that sort of thing. And we keep track of everything. And we're able to go pick up food as often as we need to from HAYCAP to fill our shelves.
And it's important to note, this is self-reporting, so we're not receiving all the numbers of people who use the pantry because we know not everyone is going to take the time to even just write a number. But it's a start, and it's something so we can prove to HAYCAP that this continues to be a need.
Okay, so here you can see just where we're looking at. The red line there is the number of families that are using our pantry. So just to kind of put this in perspective, the town of Ely has what, 2,500?
About 2,200.
2,200 residents. The blue line is the number of individuals in the family. So just looking at this, we are seeing kind of a trend upward of over 100 families each month using our pantry. And I think one of the surprising things is that we live in a community that we didn't realize there was this much need, this much consistent need.
Absolutely. In fact, a lot of times when grants become available for small or rural libraries, we don't qualify for many of them because if you look at our demographic, the income and the average income and like education level attained by families and such, it shows that we're not in need to show. But truly, it's there. The need is there no matter what. Think of the derecho and the pandemic, and it caused so many people to lose their jobs. Add on top of that, a lot of the child tax credit relief and things like that disappeared, and it's really hard for families to make ends meet as far as food security goes. Do you agree?
I agree, absolutely.
So our partnership with HACAP started in February. So February 2021 through the end of December is the stats that Allie shared with you. At the end of the fiscal year for us, which is the end of June, donations, more monetary donations came in, and we had some money in our budget to make this, I don't know, more accessible, to use the space wisely and better. And we got some shelves. We also, with the donations, were able to buy a shelf for the back, another shelf for the storage in the back room, and a larger fridge freezer combo for the pantry backups for all the supplies that we get that don't fit out into the lobby. So we went from the little cart to a shelf to 3 shelves to, I believe there are 4 full-size shelves, a small shelf there, and then we have another small half shelf on the other side that's toiletry items. And this is really done through partnership. We have so many community members that take the time to come in and be like, oh, I see we need to restock in the pantry. And when we're open, they'll go and do that. Casey's on C Street, anytime that they're done selling a specific item, or maybe it's like Halloween candy or anything like that, pops, beverages, whatever, they're not going to be selling anymore. They bring it to us and we get to put it out in our pantry. I think that's pretty awesome. Our friends group has been phenomenal from the beginning. They're pretty much the ones that started the partnership with HACAP and really have kept it going. General Mills and Quaker Oats, if they haven't specifically given to us, they have employees who have gone out of their way to make sure to buy boxes and boxes of cereal and oats and things like that. HACAP is big. There is a local grocery recovery that one of our friends of the library has been in touch with. So this would be salad, mixed salad bags, produce, breads, bakery items, things like that from the local grocery stores, so that instead of it being in the landfill, it ends up coming here at a chance for it to be consumed and used. This summer, we had people bring in watermelon, and we had people bring in tomatoes and all sorts of stuff that they were able to grow and had an abundance of and shared within our library pantry. School district, we've partnered a lot with college community, and they're very much aware of this pantry as an option that's available. St. John Lutheran Church, they started right away to help us, and then they had a big food drive in May, and all of the items they were able to get, they brought here for us to have on hand. And Shueyville United Methodist Church, they had a large donation project that came through and brought all their extras here for us, and we were able to fill the shelves there. So the partners are there. These kind of fell into us. We didn't even have to do anything to get the partners, but in order to make it continue at your library, you definitely would want to look into some partnerships.
All right, so why has this been so successful for us? Number one, the partnerships I think that we formed over the last year or so. The number of volunteers that have come in and offered to help are big. You know, it's a matter of people offering resources and people offering time. And when people see how much it's being used, I think they're more eager to help. Another thing is that our library lobby is open 18 hours a day. And one of the barriers to providing food resources to people is that many food pantries are only open for an hour a day, or food boxes are only available an hour or two at a time, and often it's during work hours. One of the advantages we have here, being in the center of town with the doors open, is that people can come when it's convenient for them. Additionally, they can come at night. There, whether we like it or not, there still is a stigma for people trying to get food. So being able to come at night when nobody's here and get food for their family, that's I think a huge part of how this pantry is being used. Before the pandemic, we used to have senior lunches and that sort of thing. They used to get resource assistance there. Since COVID, a lot of those programs have kind of gone to the wayside, at least temporarily. So now we do have people that come to the pantry, grab stuff for their neighbors or anyone else in need, seniors that they know, and they're able to deliver those items. So those are kind of some of our unseen volunteers that are making the pantry a success. Another part is that we don't have any paperwork requirement. This isn't TFAP certified, so they don't have to give their income, they don't have to give their name. We ask them to self-report the number in their household just for our own statistics, and so that we can inform HACAP. But it's self-serve and super easy for the people that need to come and get food. And like I mentioned, after hours is great for privacy. The other thing that we've done is tried to really publicize this. On Sunday, when we fill up the pantry, we usually try to post some pictures of what we have in stock on social media, Facebook mostly. We try to thank our partnerships when we can through social media, which also increases the word of mouth. And then, as this has grown, I think the reason some of the statistics has gone up is because people know that we're here. They know there's going to be a reliable amount of food in there. They know it's worth the trip.
It's accessible. Yeah. And even partnerships with our daycares and the schools. We're in a situation where Ely has 3 different school districts that it serves, and maybe even 4, I guess, maybe one of the Cedar Rapids districts, but we serve residents in Sellon, Mount Vernon, and College Community at Prairie there. So word of mouth and partnerships that way gets spread around. And near and dear to mine and Allie's heart, the educational opportunities we get, including talking about zero waste.
Absolutely. So when we get the grocery recovery items, some of them are within a couple of days of their expiration date. Some of them are bruised fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing. And so we have some people in the community. I have chickens, so a lot of times the stuff that isn't fit for human consumption can go to the chickens. We have some people in town that have goats. Yep. And that sort of thing. So we try to kind of keep that cycle going and try and keep stuff out of the landfill. Just as an extra side benefit of feeding humans, we can keep some stuff out of the landfill.
Absolutely. And then we take that time to, we get a big donation of bananas and they're ready right now to make banana bread. And we make a point of talking to all the patrons who come in and say, hey, we have a plethora of bananas today. Feel free to take some because we would hate for this to end up in the landfill. And then we get that chance to talk a little bit more about the zero waste in this. And you may not need it, but we don't want it to waste either. So it's a good chance to talk about that. And of course, it goes right into library programming. Not only do we keep brochures and our newsletter and things out there, so when people come in off hours, they can grab all that. It's a great opportunity to talk about the seed library and the whole cycle of growing your own foods and things. I think we have a slide on that, but it's just a great opportunity to bump up what the library does have outside of the food pantry to offer everyone. Issues. Of course, there's issues everywhere, right? So the first thing would be onion skins. Oh my, I hate those dry onion skins in my house, let alone when they're in the lobby. However, we have plans to purchase a little broom with a little handle thing so people can feel free to scoop that up. But I've seen people pick up the onion skins and things like that that are left on the floor, and it just kind of warms my heart a little bit. Snack garbage. This may not be a problem at your library. The library is a bus stop. And so kids come in and they're welcome to do so because it's cold, and they can sit in our lobby and, or not sit, I guess we don't have anywhere to sit. It's a very small lobby, but they can stand and stay warm while they wait for the bus. And a lot of times there are some fun snacks that they can snag. And we had some snack garbage issues outside at first, but once we talked to the kids and showed them where the garbage is right outside the door, they started to use that. So easily fixed. Perhaps my favorite one is the juggling of fruit. And I kind of laugh about this because it was a young boy and young girl, and they were trying to one up each other, and they decided that it would be fun to juggle fruit. So they got fruit, they went outside thinking we wouldn't see, and we're juggling these lemons and making a mess. And then Paula, dear Paula, one of my librarians, saw this and went ballistic on them, and that has never happened again. So she's just like, this is food for people who need it. It isn't for you to play with and waste. And so they came back and they apologized, and everything is good there. We also have had school bus home issues. Like I said, this is a bus stop. We have a couple of kids that like to share, let's say. And so they'll grab a whole package of cookies and smuggle it in their backpack on the bus and share on the bus. And that has caused issues because, again, they aren't the best about cleaning up. So we've had talks with their parents and such, and they've talked to their children. And so that has been taken care of. Produce and perishables past their prime. Allie kind of touched on. We have several farmers in the area. They have either goats or horses or chickens and such, that when it's beyond misfit and it's not something that we probably would eat, they're happy to take that out there and use them for their critters. So it seems like all of that stuff is easy to overcome. Some things aren't. For instance, expired food. We still get people who clean out their pantry and realize something's expired, and it's not good for their family to eat, but it's okay for someone else. So we still sometimes get expired items. We look for that, and then we have to get rid of it, which isn't so fun. But we just keep, educating, right? Like, you're not going to eat it, so nobody else is going to eat it. Just get rid of it at your place, right? So that's just a continual education thing. And then this last issue probably wouldn't affect most libraries. The reason we're having issues with people still donating clothing is because of the derecho. We were accepting pillows and sheets and tarps and shoes and clothing and all that stuff because people lost everything. And so people still are thinking, oh, I can drop off this stuff. And we're not a Goodwill where you can do that. So we've had a few issues with that. It's gotten much better with the educational piece, signage, and all of our posting on Facebook and other social media. So that is good. And we also at this time had changed our book donation policy. So we're still struggling a little bit with that. There just isn't room in the lobby. We used to have a little cart people could drop their book donations off, and there isn't room anymore for that. And we've set it up so that they have to call and make an appointment to donate their books, and that way we can handle it better. But that started before the derecho and pandemic, and so that was an issue that we're still kind of dealing with a little bit. Is this me again too?
That's you.
Okay, future plans. We just finished writing as a whole library team for the Whitmer Community Grant. We won't know if we get that until I think February, but we wrote that grant specifically for those items that are not necessarily donated from people in the community. They're not necessarily available for us through HACAP. So we get a lot of cereal, as I mentioned, with Quaker Oats and General Mills, but we don't often have milk, or we never have shelf-stable milk. So things like that, we wrote the grant for. Peanut butter. We don't always have peanut butter, but as soon as we do, it's gone. Baby diapers, wipes, formula, things like that. Also, feminine hygiene products. They are very much like a present from what we're told. When people can find those things, they're very hard to find. So future plans would be other grants to look for to continue things like that. We're going to continue to use the pantry space to spread more information about the library, the other resources and programs and educational opportunities we have. And we are we've been approached by several different entities, including other pantries, for how ours is so successful. What can they do to make theirs as successful? So we've had quite a bit of advising opportunities that have come through this, and we hope to continue that and maybe learn more and how to make ours even better too. So we talked about how it started. It kind of fell into us. We talked about all the great things, why it's easy, why it's a success. We talked about a few problems, but really there's 3 stories that we just seals the deal for us every time we think about it. A couple told me that during the pandemic, they both lost their jobs and they were holed in and they had nothing else. And so they used the pantry, and they just can't thank us enough for that, having that here at a time when they desperately needed it. And now they do whatever they can to give back. Another story from a neighbor of mine, she said they used the pantry to make ends meet in their house. And then she also would deliver products to her brother who was struggling from food insecurity. And now they donate when they can their time as they're able to. And then finally, the last one, I was able to tell clients about our food pantry and take them there and introduce them to it. And she said she has clients who cried because they didn't have to show proof of need in order to get what they needed. And they are so, so thankful for that. And one individual is so proud and wants to give back. She has indeed been volunteering with us and is very helpful. And, you know, we've told her it's not necessary to do this, but she really wants to be able to give back for such a good opportunity.
All right, so I'm sure we've convinced you that this is absolutely something you need in your community. The need is there, even in your community, even if there are food pantries that are open for an hour a week. This is absolutely something that's worth it. You know, as someone who worked here in the library, I know the importance of serving your community. Here, you know, while we serve around 4 different school districts, we don't have any schools in our community. We're the hub. And this provides that part of the community where neighbors can help each other. The amount of staff work in it, I think, has not been
very much staff at all.
It hasn't been that much. We've had enough volunteers, enough people eager to help and make this happen. It does bring people into the library, which, you know,
always is a good thing.
What we want. That's what we want. And we're able to get other resources for them, you know, including the books, you know. So we have a seed lending library here at the library. And so this kind of goes along with that economic security for people lucky enough to have a place to grow things. We can kind of take them straight from the food pantry to here's a way you can, you know, grow food for free, you know, using our free seeds and that sort of thing. But it also goes full circle because we do have community members that are just gardeners and then they're bringing their summer produce. So it's kind of got this full circle thing that we've got going on, and we do a lot of programming around that.
Absolutely. Yep.
So if anybody is convinced that, you know, putting a permanent food pantry in their space is a good idea, certainly reach out to us. We would be happy to help support you and answer any questions that you have about creating this in your community. The need is there.
Absolutely. And I think that concludes our presentation. And of course, I have to show you the cat because we have to have a cat. But it looks like it's a webinar. So questions can come to us through the chat.
And I've picked up on a couple of questions. I think you have both addressed a question about food expiration and perishables. So I'm pretty sure you answered that one. But Is there anything you can share about any insurance issues? Are there insurance issues regarding liability or regarding your access to the building?
No, we haven't had any issues with insurance. Our library was already open 18 hours a day. We just have it on like a timer lock. So when you come right into the lobby, you can go to the left to the main and then open a door and go into the library, or you can go to the right and open a door and go into our meeting room. So the access to the library is closed up. It's just access to the lobby that is available. We have a book drop in the lobby, so that's why it's been available. We are looking at making it 24/7 available, since the rest of the library is secured, and why not? We do have video cameras just for safety reasons. We've had those for the last 12 years or so, so it's not like it's anything new, but we have not had any issues. There hasn't been any damage, theft. The fridge and freezer has been left alone. You know, people are just respectful and taking what they need.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And assuming your lobby is temperature controlled year round.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Someone asked that as well. So I just think this is such an impressive contribution for a public library to make in its community, and what a wonderful partnership.
Yes. Yeah, I'm seeing a comment about a little pantry. I do know there's quite a few little pantries around the area. If you're familiar with the Free Little Library, there's the Free Little Pantry that is very similar. The problem around here is canned goods and glass goods, things that freeze. And it's really cold out lately. But so, you know, this kind of takes away that issue for that. But even those could be beneficial. You could put the you could put bread, but you couldn't put lettuce outside, for instance. But, you know, still the other things that people need, toiletries and hygienes and things like that.
Oh, sure. Maybe a personal products pantry. I know churches have begun providing that kind of service to community members, to whether church members or not, the personal hygiene items. Yeah.
Right.
So, and if you're not completely convinced, I'll give you guys all a little task that will kind of get you started. If you say that you don't have space, if you say that this is something that's not feasible for you right now, what I want you to do as librarians, you can go online and look for all of the food box giveaways in your area, all of the food pantries, all of the areas that do give food, and you can post that information in your library. You can make it available to your patrons. And that is one way you can help, even if you say that you don't have space for this.
Yep.
Yeah, there's another great idea, to be involved and more like a reference service and information service. I love that idea too. Anything else? Any other questions from our audience members? Those were all good ones. And some people are indicating that they feel that their space constraints might be an issue. So I think what you just shared about sharing those other community resources that are already exist around town is a great niche for the library to provide that kind of information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we will get the slides available. We'll get those to Samantha. And I don't know, I'll put our emails in the chat in case anybody wants to snag that now, but I'm pretty sure that was part of the bio and stuff that was shared.
Had I gotten in here on time to share your bio, that would have been swell. Here's the link. Here's the link to the conference evaluation for the day. So please fill this out when the conference is finished for you. If you're able to stay with us throughout the rest of the day and even into the evening, then fill this out when you've attended your last session. If this is your last session, then you're welcome to fill it out now. We'll appreciate your comments. And the reason we haven't bugged you for your first and last names, as we usually do in our Zoom meetings, is because that conference evaluation will ask you for your first and last name. That way we can make sure that we're checking you off inside your Iowa Learns account, so you'll get credit for today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Thank you. Thanks so much to you both. I appreciate your time prepping this presentation, and certainly for sharing with us such an inspiring way for a library to be involved in the community. Thank you all so much.